We'll stream there, and let's get our QuickTime going.
Oh, shoot, yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, that works. Ooh, baby. I got the glasses and everything. These might need to go.
Glasses?
Yeah, well, they're bugging me, my headphones.
Oh. Right. I clicked. Where'd you go? There you are. Okay. Why aren't you popping up? It's on my bar. Hello. Show all windows?
What's the matter? You got to do a new audio recording.
Yeah, let me kill it. I opened it, but it's just on my bar down. But
sometimes it does like a file open usually when you open the program.
What? Okay. All right. It just doesn't open us. I guess just to do that. New audio recording.
Hey, Jen Hen. What's up?
Okay. Hitting record button. The numbers are counting. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Let's get our stretches in. I'm ready for this.
Right.
The most important part of the pod right now.
1, 2. Oh, no, I'm not ready.
Oh!
I wasn't recording. I'm recording now. 1, 2. It's not. Hang on.
You kidding me? You're doing this on
there
purpose?
There goes. 1, 2, 3. Cool. That's so funny. Let me tell you, laugh, but you don't have to produce this podcast. It works.
Well, it's actually more work for you to produce, and I thank you for doing the more work option for everyone's ears.
Well, it's much better. Actually, I am in another podcast for work, and it quickly deteriorated because we had 3 people on the podcast. We try to have 3 on there, and like when we used to have 3, of course, the sound fidelity takes a steep nosedive when one of those 3 doesn't have a decent setup or a good room or a soundproof or a microphone or whatever.
Yeah.
And quickly that became apparent that, especially if we were doing it for work, we wanted the quality to be better. So
and you could keep somebody out if you needed to.
We're all in IT, so there's no excuse for someone not being able to record their own track and then send it to me. So that's kind of
part of the job requirement.
Yep.
You better be able to work basic computer skills.
Are you ready to roll here?
Let's do it. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, everybody. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode, rapid fire here, of the antsmarching.org podcast. I am Matt. It is bright and early over here. It's 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning out here in the West Coast. And I'm setting alarms. I'm getting up early for you. And then you've got Joe. Joe, good morning.
Morning. Oh, wow, such dedication from you. So I'm on the East Coast. It's still morning. Nice 11 a.m. here. And Matt told me that, hey, we're going to get this next podcast out because we got a lot to talk about. Let's do it. I'll be the crazy one that'll wake up early in the morning to do this. You just be ready at 11. You can do that, right? I said, freak yeah, I can do that. I go to bed and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to sleep to 11. And I get a text message from Matt at 10:45, like, hey, do you have this yet? And I'm like, no. So we just scrambled and woke up. Both of us have been up for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And what was the first thing we do? I made coffee, but then I got my coffee here.
Yep,
you got it too?
Oh, is that a Yeti tumbler?
We both got Yeti tumblers.
You got
nice.
a Yeti podcaster and two Yeti tumblers.
I like it. So I'm ready to go now. Then we jumped onto the thing.
I got a question, Joe. Anybody who's hung out with you, has spent significant time with you during tour season and all of this, and they have to deal with your female-like qualities in terms of getting ready. And that's not to denigrate our fairer sex. It's the
where are you going? Oh no, where are you going?
It's all this time spent to primp and press yourself up, and the hour-long shower. Like, you're trying to get a plan going. You're like, well, we got to budget in like an hour and 30 minutes for Joe to get ready. And
come on,
you know what? If only it were an exaggeration. But then, this guy jumps on Skype, self-proclaimed, I just rolled out of bed. And, he looks fine. And, here's the funny thing. That's not me complimenting him right now. That's me saying, why are you spending so much time? Because you look no better after an hour and a half just picking away. No, I'm not saying you look bad now. I'm just saying you don't look better with all the effort. You look fine. I woke up like this. Isn't that a song or something?
I feel really. I'm like, I got nothing going for me right now, and you think I look exactly the same when I take a shower.
And right there, folks, was Joe at his most hurt. If you want to see really how to cut them.
I'm gonna have some deep thoughts about this.
Wow, I just heard your voice going and inflections I've never heard before, and you are upset. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
Well,
I gotta do some self-reflection.
I was gonna say no more grooming tips podcast for you. I see you spinning up on the side.
It's been spoiled. I have no nothing to back it up with anymore. Now that people have seen my ungroomed and seen my groomed, they're like, the delta there isn't significant enough.
Well, other than to see your lovely, ungroomed, and yet still acceptable face, Joe, we have, thanks to you, I mean, you put together a monster agenda here. We have a lot to talk about, and believe it or not, none of it has to do with the Batson sessions. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, and if you hadn't heard about the Batson sessions, we just recorded a pod of that yesterday. And so if you're listening to this one because you're just listening to the latest podcast, jump back one podcast, and you may have missed it. It's all on the Batson sessions.
And it is one podcast, but it is episode 99. We are calling this one 101. And
do you know how to count, Matt?
It is not early Sunday morning math things that has caused this weird jump. We had initially planned for 100 to be a special episode. Kind of, delve into some different content, or at least site-related content, and hit that milestone. We've been doing these for a long time. The Batson sessions,
episodes,
right?
That's crazy.
And these are like at least hour. Most of them are at least an hour long too. It's quite a ton of content and a lot of us babbling for a long time, and so the Batson sessions leak. Kind of threw those plans into the garbage, and we had to jump on and talk about it. And that, whereas this would have been 99, that one was 99. So we're going to make this one 101, and we're going to go back and do 100 here very shortly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for 100.
That's the plan. Can't you see us like roll into 108, 109, and we haven't done 100 yet?
No, we get to 200 and we're like, should we do the 100th now? Is now a good time to do that? All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So what do we got? We got an agenda of well, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but you want to start with the tail end of the 2018 summer tour.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure the last show that we talked about. It must have been, well, obviously we did podcasts from the Gorge.
We did.
We got a couple live podcasts from the Gorge. So I guess the one thing we didn't do from the Gorge was at the end of it, the wrap of it, after night 3. I mean, some pretty crazy stuff happened night 3. I guess most particularly the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Yeah. But we had other guests that night too. We wondered if there would be any repeats on night 3. I think we speculated over all the course of 3 nights. Could they pull it off? Well, no. We ended up getting repeated songs in the 3rd night. But those repeated songs were ones that we had guests, and I think everyone would happily take. I assume would take a repeat of That Girl Is You on night 3, given the circumstances. It was a repeat, but if you're gonna have a repeat, that's probably the best way to do it. Would you say, Matt?
I completely agree, Joe. And I had people texting me saying, you got to be kidding me. Like, they played this last night and yet they couldn't bring the band out. And those concerns, if you want to ask that question, I think that's valid. And I think that just goes to show that so little of what actually happens is planned, right? And I will say this. If that's the song that fit the best, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how much better they could have done in terms of a jam session. I loved it. And if they were to go back there and say, oh, man, but we played it last night, let's not do that. That's too weird. I'm so happy they just said, screw it. I don't care if we played it last night. We got this idea. It's going to sound awesome. Let's just do it. And they did it. And that is more of I don't know if that's a risk that I've been kind of complaining that they would not take in more recent years. I don't know if that falls in that category. But if anything, it's just throwing caution to the wind and doing something interesting, even though there could be complaints about it. I like that. Points for them on that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, we know Dave definitely thinks about all 3 nights when he writes the first night. He has that in mind. I don't know that he gets to the degree of having it all worked out, but I think he knows like major pieces, how to distribute some of the staple pieces across the 3 nights. So it's hard to say if he knew in advance that he was going to be repeating those, or knew in advance what day maybe they would be guesting, or it just all kind of percolated on the day of the show. But man, was that performance amazing. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, I get goosebumps if I still listen to it. It's on YouTube. You can find it. Just search, Dave Matthews Band Gorge, Preservation Hall Jazz Band. It's night 3 of the Gorge this year, 2018. You can get it on YouTube. Check it out. Pretty amazing if you haven't seen it yet.
We did touch on it yesterday, though, that the recordings are relatively muddled versus having been there live. It is not as easy to pick out all the individual instruments being played. Rest assured, I mean, if you were there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The jam was not a wall of sound. It was not musicians stepping on each other. It was, you couldn't believe there were that many people up there, and it still sounded so good and coordinated. And I have found the recordings, I'm like, I remember it sounding better than that.
Yeah.
It's not a knock, but yeah, it's Joe. You're thinking about it. I know you're grooving.
And I got that beat now. Yeah, I got the beat in the head.
Yep.
I mean, if you're not familiar with Preservation Hall Jazz Band, right? They're from New Orleans, so they're got that New Orleans street band, jazz band kind of sound, brass horns. Check them out. And we mentioned on the last pod, but if you didn't hear, the Preservation Hall Band is going to be joining DMB in Seaville for the fall tours, the 2 Seaville shows they'll be opening for them. So fingers crossed that they do some more collaboration, because that would be amazing. Maybe this time, maybe some members come out and join their set versus the reverse.
That would be cool. I think, I mean, this thing is custom made for Rashawn.
John and Jeff, they have saxophone, they have trumpets.
Absolutely. I guess where I think Jeff could plug in almost anywhere. I feel trumpet's a little more of a niche instrument in terms of rock bands or whatever. I just, obviously they're a jazz band, but in terms of Dave Matthews Band, I've not been shy in my feelings that I don't love the trumpet sound, but certainly the Preservation Hall Jazz Band is something that Rashawn can jump right in and definitely contribute big time. Right, that would be fun to see. So yeah, we haven't talked about night 3 really. We've got a couple of, one debut. We got Butterfly to open, which I think the last time they played it was the Gorge, which is interesting.
Very interesting. There's some kind of connection there.
Right. We got Superstition and Proudest Monkey, which were only the second time we saw those two all tour.
Wow. Okay.
They say, improv is listed on our set here, but that is, it was the little intro to Hello Again. So it wasn't like the improv that was kind of officially called improv there for a little while. We got Captain and 27 that were the 5th and 4th plays respectively of the tour. We got one thing I like was from night 2 where Hamilton came out and played on Last Stop. He came back out and played on Lion Our Graves. And that was, we talked about it on the pod from the Gorge, but Hamilton has been one of my favorite guests as well. What a cool sound. Guy's got amazing stage presence, and it's not amazing in like a Steven Tyler kind of Bono. It's not this showman stage presence. He's just this big, imposing, tall dude with this fro, and and he's got this little instrument, and he's killing it.
And I think he's got the Carter smile disease too. I think he's got the smile. He's always got like a smile on him. He's got the kind of like goofy, nerdy glasses. He just looks like very likable and very awesome to watch, very entertaining when he's playing on stage.
It's a good point. It's one of those guys you want to see having fun up there, and you feed off of that
exactly.
happiness that he's seeing.
He's contagious. Yes.
Yeah. So
and then you should mention Joe.
M?
No, not Joe M. Joe, what is it? Fotheringham. Who guested on? Yeah, guested on She. I guess the history there is a trumpet player, right? That's like a younger kid, like high school, I think.
I think so.
That actually appeared on the Come Tomorrow album, and they had him out and guested on one of the shows. I think he was part of like one of those horn sessions. What am I trying to think of the word I can't think of? Like when they have like workshops, like a horn workshop. I think that Rashawn maybe did one time. He participated in it, and then they invited him to be on the album, I think, and then now he invited him to be a guest. So it's pretty awesome for that guy to a young person like that
kid,
to get all those experiences.
So we haven't really dove too much into my overall Gorge feeling. As you said on the last podcast, I wasn't even going to go until for a good part of this calendar year.
Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, right. Well, there is I will say that overall I had a great weekend. I had a very good time, and that includes the concerts. I really enjoyed them, but I realized I had to take a different tack in terms of how I approach the shows. And it's not an expectation thing. It's just I realized that um, how I would see the band back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s is just gone. In terms of not the band, in terms of what I went to see the band for. I went to see stuff I hadn't heard before. I would climb up fences to hear sound checks and hope to hear something before the show. The mysteriousness of it, the fact that anything could happen on any given night was still kind of there, especially around all these album releases. You know, they were sound checking Big Eyed Fish early 2000s, and Monkey Man snuck into a couple of sound checks and things like that. Yep. And I have found it hard to break out of that box because that's an exciting way to follow a band. If the band is holding up their end of that, right? For good or bad. And it's been tough to let that go because that is a high that you get when something happens or you hear something or something unique happens. And as the band gets older and their career gets longer, they have just shifted into a different gear. And it doesn't mean it's worse, but and it doesn't mean that the shows are less good. But it is a shift, and I think I've taken a long time to come around to enjoy what you got.
Accepting that shift.
Accepting that shift. So it's not lowered expectations. It's just different goals.
Yeah, if you go in with those original expectations to a show now, you're going to be disappointed, right? So how do you change your expectations and realize the now? And so that way the expectations you go in with are going to match up. And I think the bands, I guess the fan base has definitely made this shift too. I would think back then, I think maybe a bigger majority of the venue was in the same state as you, searching for that stuff and actively participating in online communities and trying to find that. I would say there's a lot of fans now that aren't as much trying to stay up to speed on everything at DMB and what new songs are on and chasing things. They're kind of just going there and they kind of if they know all the songs versus, 10 years ago when people were probably more on the internet trying to figure out what's the new things, what songs are going to get played that I've never heard before.
Right.
Now people, I think, just show up because
and I think it's easy to associate when I say change my expectations. I'm not saying lower my expectations. I'm not speaking in the way of shows used to be fun and now they're not, and I just need to get used to it and accept it. That's not what I mean by the word expectations. Or it is adjust what I'm there for. And that's on me. That's certainly on me. Obviously, I would find it more exciting if it was still one of those anything could pop out. I think I'd prefer that. I know. Yeah,
I would still prefer anyway. So we still kind of ask for that each time, and it's a little bit in the back of our head. So I'm on the same page. I think that would be awesome. But if I look at people that are disappointed after a show, any show at this point,
right?
You could always put it down to expectations. Almost always. Put it down to expectations. And a lot of problems people have is they go in with too high expectations for a show because, oh my gosh, it's night 2 of SPAC, so it's gonna have to be absolutely amazing.
I can't remember. I roomed with Go Cubs Go, one of our moderators, John, and I can't remember what he was saying, but after night 2, he was feeling real good or something, and he said night 3. I can't remember what he was predicting, but it was outrageous stuff. And he was sitting there with a straight face. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get that. And it was completely unrealistic, and I was loving every minute of it. That he was.
And then that only sets you up to be disappointed. You got the wrong expectations. If you ever see somebody disappointed, it's probably because they went in with the wrong expectations. They had certain songs they wanted to hear. They expected something, blah blah blah, and they didn't get it, and that's why I respect it. So the best thing you can do is try to level set your expectations for what's really going to be the show, and if they do more than that, then you're going to be pleasantly surprised. If they do what the expectation is, then you're not going to be disappointed.
And it's kind of a I don't know if bipolar is the right word, but it's chasing those high highs is great, and it's easy if you don't hit those high highs to be really pessimistic and down. I think
Yeah.
I think it's a natural reaction to kind of buffer your own your recoil from what why didn't I just love that?
Right.
And that doesn't excuse, I think, it doesn't excuse anything from the band, really. I mean, the band is still capable of having a poor show or choosing a poor set list or poor effort or whatever. So I'm not speaking in those things where it feels like the energy wasn't there or whatever. But overall, as it applies to the Gorge, I took a different tack, and I actively didn't care. I tamped down those hopes that are still in me from when I started following this band in the late '90s, and I had a great weekend.
That helped. And so this is my question. That's awesome to hear. I love to hear that. I know there's more to that than that, but I love hearing it, at least in that little piece. And my question for you would be, as we talked at all these pods throughout the entire summer tour, I don't know what the right word is, but I would say you were a little bit sour about looking at the tour from pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. After going and after this whole expectation thing, did it change your feelings about this tour at all?
No, because I guess the way I try to play that is if I was not at the Gorge and I looked at all three pieces of paper, mm-hmm. would I feel the same way? Would I have the same reactions to the set lists?
Yeah,
I think so. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's almost impossible to do, is look at it and imagine you weren't there, kind of thing. Because as the shows were going on, I was like, man, I wonder. I always think to the people who are couch touring it, like we do, or I do most of the tour. I think night 2 was a really spectacular show set list wise. You've got 41.
I mean, Lie in the Graves, I mean, I think is my highlight from the entire weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Grace Is Gone. I mean, listen to that run. You got Nancy's Idea of You. I wouldn't count Idea of You in that, but Don't Drink the Water, Grace Is Gone, Last Stop, Digging a Ditch.
Oh, The Last Stop, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last Stop's great, but that song hasn't been good in a long time, in my opinion, in terms of how they were on playing it. But I was happy to hear it, and the Hamilton guest was really started off slow. You weren't like, what's going on here? And then he got in, like, they felt it. They felt it, and they locked onto that. That was cool.
That was really cool. Mike's got a question for you. What did you think of our first show with Buddy?
Oh, so I listened to some of the earlier shows in the tour, like right at the beginning, and he was easing his way in. I think he's great. I liked Butch. Like the keys are a great addition. Keys were an original component of this band. Buddy's great. He brings great energy. They obviously have a lot of fun up there with him, which is the most important thing, right? The fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, but that is good. That is good to see them having fun up there, and that is readily abundant with Buddy up there. I like his groove, and I look forward to him being here in 4 years and everybody griping about how there's too much Buddy now. Like, it's such a cycle, right?
It is. It is.
As long as we don't get 10-minute solos on the staple songs, like the Butch fell into that rhythm, right? That's, I think, what ultimately garnered some ill will towards some of the hardcore fan base. But
it's a good point. Yep.
What can I say? I mean, 1 year. And listen, if he's out on tour with them, Joe, is he a full member if he's on tour with them in the fall tour, or do we wait till next summer to take him off the guest list? Because people just love to point that out every time.
Putting us on the spot. It used to
be
be
1 year, right?
It used to be 1 year. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, I mean, technically, no, but
so he's still going to be a guest on the set lists this fall, folks. So
I might just do it so I don't have to hear people talk about it anymore.
No, that's exactly why you still do it.
Just to get people frustrated. But I mean, I think people are loving Buddy right now. They love him on what's the cover?
Time of the Season?
No, not Time of the. It starts with S.
Superstition.
Yeah, Superstition.
Yeah, man.
They love him singing. He plays a key part in Superstition. People love it. His vocals is actually
got great
probably
voice.
Yeah, it goes really good, and it's back and forth singing with Dave is awesome. So
can we talk about the Be Strong brand thing?
Yeah,
is that weird?
Well, that's his name.
Yeah. Do I wear a shirt? I mean, I drink out of a coffee mug, but it's not the same smell.
But you're not repping Yeti.
No, I just find that strange to me. It's just nitpick, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool cool name to have. I
Oh,
mean,
be strong. Yeah.
yeah, if I kind of had a cool name like that, maybe I would do it.
Really? I think you have a cool name, so do it. Make a shirt. I'll make you a shirt. If you wear that shirt, it says like Joe Mama or something like just we got to come up with something. All right, contest for all those live listening right now and all those listening. You can tweet at Ants or email podcast@antsmarching.org. If you come up with a Joe related brand, I will make him a shirt and I will force him to wear it. Coming up.
Oh gosh, no! The key part I said there is it has to be cool. It has to be cool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It has to be cool. So we got a creative listener base. Let's go.
Oh, I don't know about that. Speaking of,
he's knocking everybody out there. Prove him wrong.
I don't want to wear a shirt to the fall tour that has my name on it. So don't.
Joe M. Wrinkle free. I like that.
So speaking of Buddy, to change the subject, but stay on the subject, is Relics magazine just did an article and an interview on Buddy Strong and about joining the band, which gives us some additional insight about Buddy joining and, pieces that we already knew, the connections through Usher and Natural, I think it is, right, and Rashawn, then to Dave. I thought one of the interesting comments on this is, he meets Dave in the studio for a tryout, and he has no idea what he's going to have to try out. He said he listened to the Live in Chicago live disc and just kind of learned that.
From 98?
Yeah, interesting disc to
Well, it's a
pick.
freaking great concert.
Great one. But
Great concert.
That one? Like, why that one? I have no idea why that Live in Chicago. Maybe he saw it at the dollar store or something. I don't know. But he picks that. He goes to the studio. Dave shows him this piano that's like really cool, and they talk about the piano for a while. And then he just starts noodling on the piano. And after like a couple minutes, Dave's like, let's go get lunch. You're good. It took like a couple minutes. And he just based it off of chemistry and
rivaling how much time they spend putting together an album in the studio.
You think more or less?
A couple minutes.
More or less.
You know what? I do like how you referenced the dollar store because when you try to think of a random place, Mr. Joe M.
Oh, come on.
Thinking that goes to the dollar store.
Like the dollar store. Right? That just seemed like where the album would be. But yes, I'm always looking for that deal.
Yep.
So I thought that was interesting from it. There's a couple other, little interesting tidbits in there. I mean, he talks about two-step at Deer Creek Night 2, which we hadn't had a chance to talk about on the podcast at all, but I picked up from him that he had said that he had never heard the song before they played it. He had never heard it. They just put that on the set list. I don't know if it was, and he didn't have time to prepare. But he played that song without ever having played it. So played it before. And so, which is interesting. Yeah,
we've talked about that.
They're musicians. They can do it. They don't need like, Buddy's got to get up to speed. There's an example. They're playing two-step and he's never even heard the song. So he plays it, and they talk about in the article how they get to the part where the song is like from the album is supposed to stop. And they go then into the jam thing that doesn't sound like the rest of the song, and he was completely caught off guard. Like, this doesn't even sound like the same song. What's going on here? So, but he said Carter blew his mind. He said his number one experience with the band so far was playing two-step at Deer Creek and just being
blind,
and like the energy of the band and that song. He was just completely like sucked into it, which is pretty cool to hear.
See, and I love that. And that goes to the point where, listen, I don't care if this band's up there trying goofy stuff all the time and screwing up. Please, like, go ahead, have fun. And that's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's really cool. So glad to hear you like Buddy. Sounds like people are liking Buddy. It's awesome. I guess then there are a couple more shows, Reno and San Fran and LA. I think most notably would be actually Reno. I think, from my memory, was very disappointing in the sense that it was like they didn't really even do anything different from. If you went to Gorge, I feel like it's really hard to go to Reno right after it, because how are they going to do something too much different from
you have paid very close attention to the 3 Gorge nights, so probably typically, you'd think they're not going to pull anything out there that's going to impress usually.
It's a tough. Whoever the show is to follow the Gorge has a tough act.
Samurai Cop, Shake Me Like a Monkey. That is a rough encore.
That is a very rough encore. Yeah, I would not be happy with that.
No. Can I just make a quick point about the Gorge? Yeah. People there was a little bit of beef about the encore night 3 on Sunday. There's Butterfly Watchtower, and then the band made the galling mistake of playing another song.
Yeah.
And this is setlistitis, or whatever you want to call it. It is, and I know I've probably been here before. I have, because you look at it. Oh, why would they play Cornbread? Why wouldn't they? It's not that they didn't want another song. It was just play Watchtower and be done with it. So they got another song, a crowd favorite song, but because it's not highbrow enough. Now, see, the Brit Prague says Cornbread worst end to the best weekend.
No.
See, here's the thing. So what I'm guessing what you would want, Brit, is to them drop Cornbread off. So now it's Butterfly Watchtower. Somehow that's more of an elite ending, but instead you still got Watchtower. And they played another song that's high energy. Yeah, it's not typically a closer, but who cares? There's a 3-song encore, and you still got the song you probably wanted to end the weekend in. It just didn't end the weekend. Does it send you home any less happy? I mean, you still got it. And
I like the mixing up. I don't want to go to a bunch of shows and they always end with Watchtower. Go ahead, throw Cornbread at the end and mix it up. That's awesome. I think though that the part that people are really upset is, I think was maybe related to your setlist-itis, disease is. When people get a hold of the planned set list, the written set list that the band had written, and for this show, the set list was all of that. It was Watchtower, Cornbread, Two Step, and one other song. I can't remember the other one. It had all of those.
What
songs
You Are, I think, was in there.
Okay, yeah, good call. That's what it was. All of those were listed in the encore, and people saw then the set list after the show. They probably were happy. They were like, "Wow, that was cool. That was a great show. Look, a 3-song encore. I was happy." Then they see this piece of paper that originally had 5 songs in the encore. They're like, "Oh, worst encore ever. Why did they cut those songs? Why did they pick Cornbread and Watchtower? Those are 2 worst songs out of those 5." If you never saw that piece of paper, you'd be very happy. Or if the piece of paper just had those songs, you would be happy with that encore. And I think, I would be happy with that encore. This is not like you said, that encore of Shake Me Like a Monkey and Samurai Cop. I mean, yes, I would be upset with that one.
You're right. There were people who had that take after seeing the set list. The original, I don't know if it was planned. Usually when they do options, they have slashes on there. This was not that. This was, and I think it was meant in that way.
Right.
But it wasn't written that way, so it made it look like they were all planned. Even still, so there were people like that who would see the set list and then have an issue. But I was hearing people complaining before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not without the context of the actual set list.
Okay.
And it is just, now you're boxing yourself into the rules. There should be no other songs other than Two Step, Watchtower, Halloween, Last Stop, Billy's, whatever songs are typical closers. Now, especially, like you said, if it were Butterfly and Cornbread, gripe away. Yeah. And even then, it's something different. Cornbread's not a lousy song. It's a high energy, tour only, very very
popular. People sing it, people dance. Dave's dancing on stage. I mean, there was the years that it was overplayed, and that gets old. When it was the Samurai Comp, when it was getting played at every show, that kind of hurts Cornbread.
Yeah, these songs were the 1st, 6th, and 9th performance of the entire tour for those 3 songs in that order. Butterfly, Watchtower. I mean, that's a fairly rare encore for the tour.
Very rare. Yeah, very rare. Yeah, it was. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that. That was something that everyone was focused on, and I was trying to shake people like, "No, come on, that was a good time." Overall, I mean, you got more?
No, I'm good. I'm coming out of this feeling like I got a pretty positive tint.
Yeah, I think you do have a pretty positive tint. I think it was a great Gorge. I think something else that annoyed me about the Gorge was it was packed at the Gorge. If every 3 nights was not sold out, it was pretty darn close. And I haven't seen the Gorge that way in a long time.
Me either. And I try to make a point to look, and I try to think, have I really paid attention to it in the past years? And I think yes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think I've ever seen it feel that packed that early too.
Yeah, very early there was packed in like normally the edges of the remote sides, the left and right side of the lawn. You got grass and you can get like stand and be plenty of race. The sides of the lawn were packed. So it's pretty awesome how many people came out to the Gorge. I don't know, just a year off and people said, where everyone was able to, maybe save a little bit of money and said, okay, this is now the time I'm going to go to the Gorge after a year off. I'm going to save money and do that. I'm not sure if that's it or people are just re-energized about the Gorge, but it was awesome. There's so many people in there before the show. The place was packed.
Yeah, I mean, the narrative lately, and I think there is quite a bit of truth to it that the band's attendance is trending downward and all of that. And you would think a destination venue would probably suffer, maybe suffer more than most. You can make an argument both ways, I think, where you would say, well, no, that's actually the outlier, or you could say it will follow the trend because it's more difficult to get to. You can look at it both ways. Yep. But this was not a weekend to kind of confirm that general trend.
It was very promising. Yeah. That was really cool to see how many people had come out to the Gorge. So I've already heard a lot of people already actually have made plans for next year's Gorge. Already made travel plans. Yeah.
Well, so overall we had have we gotten the stats on exactly how many different songs were played? I thought that was easy to find, but this is, again, the data's out there in Ants, and we just do a really poor job of displaying it, which is perpetually on our list. But
yes.
We had Samurai. There were 47 shows. Samurai Cop was played at, 39 of them. There were 97 different songs played.
Wow.
And to get to that, I am on Tour Central. I'm on the summer tour, and then I click on the the song,
tour page?
I'm sorry. Under the song trends button, there's a tour show stats.
Got it.
You hit that, and you get the top 10 rare songs. So Sam Cop was played 39 times. The next most popular song was Bayou at 30.
Yeah, that got played a lot.
Right. I think 97 is a relatively low number.
How fast can you pull up 2016?
I can pull it up quite quickly.
So you think 2016 will be less or more than 97?
More. Oh, 91. You knew that, didn't you? You set me up. You set me up. I'm going to go to 15, because wasn't that the outrageous, like they were playing something new every night?
Right, yes, it was.
And that one is 116. 47 shows all across the board. This is perfect. Great comparison. 91, 97, or 116, 91, 97.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome in that 15. Like and you could see, right, there's the delta of the extra songs. When we had a lot of nights this tour that didn't have anything unique, that's when those unique songs would have come to get to that 115.
You've got in that 15 tour, you've got 3 songs over the 50% mark for the tour, which means they were played more than 1 out of every 2 shows. That was Black and Bluebird, which was really Dave's newest song at the time.
Okay.
What would you say in songs that Jane likes at 33, 27, and 24? From 41, Ants, Belly Belly Nice Billies, that's 23 or less plays. And out of 47 shows, that's less than half the shows. So, except for 3 songs, there wasn't a single song played greater than 1 out of every 2.
Sure. And then what about this year?
That's a great question. So 1 out of every 2, that line's 23. The top 10 songs played all have 24 or more plays.
Wow.
So the top 10 songs were all played at least 1 out of every 2 shows or more or greater.
Yeah. Now, this is an album tour, so we expected there's going to be, how many of those are new album songs? Probably a lot of
Sam Cop, Can't Stop, She, Again and Again, That Girl Is You. So there were still 5 non-album songs played more often.
Yeah. I'm surprised by Louisiana Bayou getting played that much. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, I mean, it matches up. We have fewer number of songs played than 2 years ago, or 2 tours ago, I should say, 3 years ago. We have twice as 10 songs that have been played every other night. Obviously, half of them are from a new album, so that's expected. But probably the other half, the other 5, probably not expected. If anything, you would think because it's an album year, it should really hurt the other songs from being able to have a chance of getting played 1 every 2 shows. So you'd really think there would be very few of those, but somehow we squeezed out 5 in an album year with those. That's surprising.
Yep. Well, okay, so that wraps up 2018 summer tour. I think we can move on to the other stuff.
Can I just talk about the Mark Batson thing? I think that's pretty worth noting.
Sure.
Yeah, Mark Batson coming out as a guest and for the final show of the summer. And I know, Matt, you love the badge part of this. What is that?
That ruined everybody's badge or a DMB Hub stub for Come Tomorrow. Everybody who had heard every song, me included, had the stub until the last show of the tour. And anybody who wasn't at that show, they lost the stub.
I lost it, and I had the biggest feeling that was going to happen. I think I've said on a past podcast that I almost wanted to go to the show just because we knew Batson was going to be guesting, and that this was likely the one time that it would be able to get played. And if it didn't go now, I didn't hear it. The only thing is the show was on a Monday. And
that might be the only time they ever play it too.
It might be the only time. Now, I will say Mark Batson has recently messaged that he's warming up his keys, with Dave Matthews Band. He gave a very weird little hint, and some people said, "Hey, I hope I get to hear, When I'm Weary again sometime." And he said, "Yeah, I hope so too." I'm hoping to play it again too. So I don't know. He gave the impression that it might happen. But man,
I would urge caution. Mark's a super positive guy, really affirmative, like, yup, yes, and I hope so too. I'm hopeful, brother. Like, he's super positive and optimistic, but certainly an optimistic guy.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, he is very, very optimistic when it comes to that stuff. So,
and us with all of our hopes, we have to be careful not to match that up, because then we just get let down by our own expectations.
Yeah. Obviously Buddy could play this song. I'm not sure why it needs to be Batson to play it, or maybe they just thought this is not really meant for live shows, and have Buddy.
Dave could probably play it also, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They haven't had a piano on tour for him,
right?
So they'd have to tell Buddy to get out of the seat and let Dave sit there.
Get up.
Buddy? Can you go stand by the microphone at the front there while I play a song? But that's pretty crazy. We got to hear the debut of When I'm Weary. It may be the only time. Who knows? It's going to be hard to say. But yes, everybody lost their badges. I think there's what you had totaled it up. I think we're down to probably only I think you told me 20 people or something like that, or not a lot of people now have the badge because you had to be at this show. And I guess we can still hope that maybe they played Big Do, and then that would also cause people to lose the badge again unless they were at that show too.
True. I don't think there's a high possible chance of that happening.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Joe, can we take a quick break before we move on to the fall tour stuff?
Let's do it. We'll
keep the stream going, and really nothing will change except I'm going to step away. I'm going to walk Muggsy. Cool. I think we'll make another coffee. So y'all on YouTube are just going to leave it roll and keep it tight, and we'll be right back.
Yeah,
cool.
I'll stay here and
entertain.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, I know we got a total of 2 people that are up at 8 a.m. right now. But if anybody has any questions, I will entertain while he does that. Ooh, wish I had my DMV stuff accessible. I could hold it up. Andrew's making plans. Oh, nice. That's cool, Andrew. What's up, Jen Hen? Shows for fall tour right now, it's looking like got to go to the tour opener, C-Bus. Plus, it's close, so that makes it really nice. But I'm a big fan of tour openers, so you got to do that. Madison Square Garden, pretty awesome place to see the band, so I'm doing those. And then probably DC and the Seaville run. Excuse me. Do those 2. And just last night I was looking at Albany just for the heck of it because they're cheap flights. It'd be a pretty crazy thing to fly in, fly out for, but we'll see what happens. How about you? What shows are you doing? Seaville night 2, only one of the nights? Maybe night 1. Okay. Look like tickets are pretty. I haven't looked lately, but I don't think it's going to be a hard ticket, and it hasn't been a hard ticket for Seaville the last few times. So probably be a pretty easy thing to add. And hey, if you add night one, then just come one more night and go to DC. Like that's what I'll do that too. Can make the 3-night run. Hey JP, or GP, excuse me. Wouldn't be anything other than me messing up names. It was posted on YouTube, but it got pulled down by YouTube because we played a little bit of that Ryan guy's music in there, and Google uses all its analytics and logarithms to pull it down. So we just submitted for it to get reposted. Hopefully it should be any second on YouTube, and then probably today. I don't know. I can't speak for Matt. Matt does the producing of the albums for all the podcast apps. Might be today, I would say. Probably today, tonight, or first thing tomorrow. It'll be out on podcasts. Ideally, we'd like to have it out so everyone has it for Monday commute. So, but should be back on YouTube shortly here. What's up, Johan from Sweden? 5:50 p.m. Nice. This is probably a good time for you. Oh, too bad on the fall tour. Europe winter tour. I wonder that too, if it's going to be, I found it interesting that they called this tour a fall tour and not a winter tour. And one of my theories is because they may want to call the Europe tour the winter tour, and they just didn't want to confuse the two. Europe, I think, is 100% in the cards from what I've heard. I've heard very promising things about how much touring this band is going to be doing. So, and I think South America is in the cards, and I think Europe is definitely in the cards, along with another U.S. summer tour. So when is that? I was trying to think, when would Europe be? They seem to, when some of the last ones been, they were early in the year. So whether they call it a Europe winter tour or Europe spring tour, I think it's probably likely to happen, but I haven't heard for sure.
What do you think, Joe? Are you we all set for an Ant solo podcast from now on? Just you? How'd the audition go?
There's a lot of dead air, or just me talking and then waiting for the stream to catch up and people hear what I said. So, what's up, Mark? Mark,
what's up, man?
DC and Seaville for Brit. Nice. Those are good. That's a good 3-night stand.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about. So yeah, GP Roush asked did you talk about the last podcast?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool.
I said, here's what I said. I said you submitted for it to get reposted, and that for podcast apps, possibly late tonight.
Yeah, I'll get that done today.
I said ideally for people to do their morning commutes that they'll have a podcast.
Yeah, we'll have them today. Yeah, and definitely if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel here. Just hit the subscribe button, and then if you want to be notified when we go live, then you have to hit the notifications button after hitting subscribe. But
hitting subscribe, you don't even get if you don't even want notifications. Just hit subscribe, you don't even get notifications.
Yeah, just add us. Yeah, it's actually the hardest platform to get followers on. I've noticed in terms of there's a great barrier to, like, Periscope. That was so effortless. We didn't pump that up at all. It's tied in with Twitter, which helps. But we have like 30,000 Periscope followers. Boom, and we're struggling to get to 1,000 on YouTube. It's really weird. But yeah.
That is. I think we. I don't know. Somehow I think we get like non-DMB fans on Periscope. I don't know. It's interesting, but we got 5 new subscriptions based on yesterday's podcast.
I just think it'd be more.
Marshall, Devon, Scott, 41 Anderson, and Tony Miller. Thanks, guys, for subscribing.
Okay, so we have a little less than an hour to go, Joe, because the JETS Jets are on at 10, and I will be watching them, hopefully beat Indianapolis. Mark, the Patriots, F the Pats, F the Pats, all the way. And that is the official position of antsmarching.org, of which you are a member of. So I guess by extension, by the transitive property, you think F the Pats also. So thank you for that sentiment. I will take that to the bank.
Wow.
Throwing down shade on a Sunday morning.
And right after our Red Sox lost too.
They lost?
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
It's gonna be a bad weekend for Boston.
Yeah, well, that's a good weekend for me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Boston's a really cool city, actually. It's just all the people that suck.
Wow. Just losing the
We're losing the East Coast viewer.
The second largest market in the U.S. Bam, gone.
Kind of like the band with their fall touring geographic choices.
Oh, they got a little. That's what you have in here. Yeah, we got a little love from the fall tour.
Yeah, you certainly did.
Yes, they did. Yeah, I think the fall tour would be the thing we talked the most about, but all these other things just mention quickly and see if we had any comments about. But I'd like to run through it all just as a, hey, did you hear?
From the number of added shows?
Yeah, just run through them and maybe people weren't aware, and I'll add any color where possible.
All right, here we go. All right, y'all, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We have more to talk about. Oh, my goodness, we have more to talk about. We almost did like 4 to 5 hours of podcast yesterday, but it was a really nice sunny day here in the fall in Seattle, and Brittany and I went and got some. We went down to a local beer joint called the Hop and the Hound. Ooh. And they allow you to bring your dogs, of course. Given the name, they have food trucks and just a really cool place. So we did some samplers there. Delicious. It's Fresh Hop IPA weekend or Fresh Hop weekend. Yeah. So a lot of really cool, delicious beers.
That's cool. Yeah, you got to maximize those days because they're going to be gone here shortly.
I mean, I'm looking at blue sky and sun right now. There's frost on the ground. It is cold, but it's a beautiful day, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, the rain's going to come. It's going to be 4 months of rain, so definitely have to take advantage.
Max knows. I look out my window and it's fallen leaves all over the place. That looks like a lot of work to clean up.
How's your color out there?
It's actually the color. It's a green or fallen leaves. It's like I don't know for whatever reason I don't have to. At least where I'm at, it's not the color, but it's 47 degrees where I'm at.
Yeah,
right
we've got some amazing color coming in right now. It's not upstate New York where I'm from. That right there that's the pinnacle. I think it's 37 here right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a cold morning. It's not that's a little atypical actually, but it is cold. But yeah, some of the leaves are starting to change now, and some of them we have some trees that are bright orange red. And
that's awesome. Those are beautiful.
Gorgeous. And especially in contrast with the green, really nice. Jim Tangretti, just still a Jets fan in Seattle. Yeah, guilty. And he moved to Spokane and had to give up on them after 15 years. Listen, Jim, if it were a choice, man, I'd be right there with you. For some reason, it's like I can't quit you.
Yeah, I don't know the fact that you gave up on him has anything to do with Spokane. I think you probably may have given up on him after 15 years just in general.
No one can blame you, my man. No one. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So before we get onto the fall tour, speaking of the fall colors, there are a handful of like miscellaneous shows that are up in Tour Central right now. Not all of them, Joe. We're getting a little chastised for Farm Aid, and we will get on that. We promise. Yes. But we have a few PR kind of shows. Like the band's making interesting circuit rounds here. They went on the Jimmy Kimmel show. Nobody got our Jimmy thing joke.
I thought that was hilarious. What did you say? So we said, hey,
like they didn't play Jimmy thing with Jimmy.
And everyone's like, that's not how you spell Jimmy. It's Jimi. It's not Jimmy.
Can always count on this fan base to have the best sense of humor.
He's like, connect the dots there, buddy.
Oof, boy. They also went on Ellen DeGeneres, which I mean, that if you're not aware of the shift of the band and really what they're where they're steering things, I mean, there you go.
I mean, that's a huge show. I mean, Ellen's, yeah. I mean, the demographic is.
Well, that's probably one of the bigger daytime shows going right now, right?
Gotta be right. I don't follow the stats on the daytime ratings, but I feel like it's got to be one of the biggest ones. And that show could have been so much more. And they unfortunately butted heads with LeBron James and what is it, Tatum or whoever that is, as guests on the show. So they didn't get to do much with Dave outside of they played their one song, but that could have been so much more. It was too bad.
Yeah. They also Dave played a Target show.
Yeah, up in Minneapolis. They played for Target Corporate. Dave did. Only 4 songs, so it was a quick one. But we don't know a lot. We got the 4 songs, what they are, but why did they play Target? The theory is if you recall back when Come Tomorrow was released, Target did an exclusive vinyl, a colored vinyl.
Right.
That was exclusive to Target. So the thought is they're made as part of that exclusive deal that they signed that maybe it included a appearance of Dave at their corporate facility. So that was maybe still completing that contract there. So
You're probably onto something there, yeah.
yeah, yep. And then there's a global climate action summit. I think that was in like L.A., I believe. There was like just 2 songs. Not too much to write home about. But the bigger one, probably one of the bigger ones, was there was a Spotify concert Dave played in Seattle. And it looked like the smallest little room. Like, didn't look like a lot of people could fit in there. And it was a full Dave show of 18 songs. And that is a rarity. Dave solo shows.
We talked about this.
Yeah. Dave solo shows, not just like 1 or 2 songs or whatever, like 5 songs. I think anything over 5 is like pretty crazy.
Usually it's a radio show. It's an appearance. It's an interview coupled with things.
Yep. Or he has Tim with him.
Not a show.
Yeah, but 18 songs and a Dave solo, that's pretty wild.
That would be interesting to find the longest Dave solo.
Yeah, have to look that up. He did that. Ben Royal, I don't know how to say it.
Benaroya.
Benaroya show up.
Shoot, I should have left you twisted on that.
I did do that during the break. I twisted some names, and it wasn't on purpose.
Oh, I wasn't even here.
I know that was a long one. I don't know how many songs were on that one. But yeah, 18 songs and a lot, and I think some of the new stuff. I mean, that's a pretty cool show to be able to say that you went to. I would have loved to have been to that one. And then rounded it out, he did Farm Aid.
Yep.
Standard Farm Aid. It was in I think Connecticut. It was in Hartford this year, I believe, right? Not too much notable there. I mean, they debuted here on out last year at Farm Aid, but this year nothing new. And then the last one was they were supposed to fly from Farm Aid down to Pilgrimage Festival. And I think they did fly about down there, but the concert ended up getting canceled because of severe weather.
That stinks.
That does stink. And it's looking like, they're not something you can really reschedule a festival. So not being rescheduled. They haven't made any announcements like, okay, hey, we're sorry about that. Dave will be back next year. They haven't said that either. So feel bad for those the band was kind of pumping, at least the marketing machine was kind of pumping that festival, trying to encourage people to go tickets and get tickets to it. So feel really bad that the way that turned out. It's too bad.
So Joe, I'm just to look really quick here. I'm looking at like historically, I'm sorting in our Tour Central database, basically Dave solo shows sorted by the length of the set list and characters, like not songs right now, just trying to get it quick.
Sure.
And 18 songs, you said?
Yeah. Was the spot
back in like 2002? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 20 songs.
Whoa.
In 2002 at Benaroya Hall. I think that's at Benaroya Hall. Yes, it is. And that's a DMB Live.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep,
the longest Dave solo show is a April show from '96 where he plays.
Do you have show ID?
29 songs. Yeah, show ID is 2284. But it's April 14th, 96.
Sweetbriar College show.
Yep. For years, this was believed to be a Dave and Tim show prior to release of Crash, which apparently was not recorded by fans. No known copy of the show exists. In 2016, an official release showed that this was Dave solo, live at Sweetbriar College.
So another real live release. That is man.
Now that's a DMB Live release, right?
That is a.
That was not a live tracks. They call it DMB Live, right?
Yeah, you're questioning me. I'm searching now, but I don't know. I didn't know off the top of my head. Yeah, live release, not a live tracks.
Yep.
live at.
So it's not unprecedented, but it is rare.
That is a lot of songs.
Yeah, it is, man.
So were you saying that Ben Royal was the second, or are you just giving me how many that was?
That was the second longest.
Okay.
Because I'm sorting by. Well, here's the thing. it could be, couldn't be. Right now, I just did a quick query. I'm sorting on the length of the set list field, and that is the count of characters. So if you played 50 songs, all with 3 characters in their name, it would probably show up
numbered
as short.
songs.
Yeah, right. It wouldn't show. One of his longer shows was actually this year, in 2018 in April, a Dennis Kucinich fundraiser.
I was at that one, and that's what I found so unique about it, is that you don't get long Dave solo shows. It's unheard of, and it was a blast. It has to be one of my highlight shows from the past 5 years. I don't know, from any recent time. Sure. It was awesome. So I'm very jealous of that Spotify concert.
So we're going to be getting all of that into Tour Central too. We've been remiss in our delay on that, but.
So if you're lucky to go there, expect soon to be able to mark that into your show stats.
Yep, for sure. So word is that Mexico had a 3-year contract with Dave and Tim. This would be the 3rd year. If that rumor bears out, are we talking about this is the last year? It seems like, I mean, if it's a 3-year contract, you could say before knowing that, they seem to like to do it. They're keep doing it. They keep doing it. Do you have any kind of indication as to the financial success of this, or because ultimately that's got to be the driving force, right?
First year, huge financial success. I mean, I don't know the financials, but I can tell you this: they had to add hotels. They ran out of hotels. They went to other properties and added them. So, all right, I'm deducing that it was a huge financial success. Second year, they kept all the same hotels, so they kept the extra hotels from the start, and they still did a good job selling them. I don't think it was maybe quite as sold out. I don't know the specifics there. This year, it's been a few weeks since I tried to look and validate. I think it's probably off, but at least the last I checked, it was a little off. I expected more to be sold out.
Is it more than the? Do you know if it's more than the? These are the same hotels as the second year offered, right?
Yes, it looked to be the same. It looked like it might have
down to the original.
It might be actually back down. There might be one missing.
Okay.
So. Yeah, it might be a little off. I'll have to follow up and see. It'll be interesting. This is the last year. I think it's cool that they announced it. They waited to the end of the tour, where everyone was speculating are they going to announce it. They had, they do their typical thing. They waited to the end of this the summer tour, and then made the announcement of Mexico, which kind of messed up the announcement of fall tour, by the way. Yeah. But they did that. They had to do all the pre-orders to that before they could announce the fall. Doing their typical stuff. Why announce both Mexico and fall at the same time? Because, we have to make sure we can squeeze every dollar out of Mexico before we let people know that there's for sure a fall tour. So kind of shady business, but I guess, to be expected maybe. I doubt anybody bought Mexico and then found out about the fall tour.
It's a different fan that you would run into down there. It's not a cheap trip.
Yeah. No, it is a luxury trip. It is not cheap, like you said. And then, it only applies to certain people that are on the East Coast anyway. So I don't think there was a lot of backlash around it. So which makes you think, why not just freaking announce them both at the same time? Why even bother with staggering them if people aren't going to be pissed off anyway? So it'll be interesting in Mexico. So I have heard a bunch of people going, and it is a blast if you're still on the fence. I haven't made it, but I've talked to people that have and had an absolute awesome time. So
you also have the opportunity to get the DMB Hub stub of Ate the Worm.
Oh yes,
right?
Eat the worm. They like tequila. Nice, a nice little stub action. That is definitely a unique trip.
Well, so why don't you talk us into the fall tour, Joe?
Much rumored towards the end of the summer that was sounding good about a fall tour. And sure enough, come the end of the summer tour, where they announced it, I think the team on Ants forums, Chad and others, thank you guys for all your diligent work, because I think Ants had the full fall tour dates figured out a couple weeks before the announcement, which is pretty sweet. So nice work, guys, on that. And thank you to everybody that contributes to that, especially anonymous sources. Thank you guys for your tips there. That helps true hardcore D&B fans try to do the most to get ahead of logistics planning, hotel rooms. So you're helping out true D&B fans when you guys help us with some of those anonymous tips. So thank you for that. But Chad Dizzy always likes to say, make sure you book refundable things because things can change.
Oh yeah.
Things change. Like we've seen tours that wrap around like the East Coast and do this, and that's the way it is, and then completely flip and do the opposite within a couple weeks. They have to rearrange everything. So you got to, you can't make anything non-refundable until you see the official stuff. But worked out this year. Had it all. So. I actually don't know. What is it? I want to say 12 shows. Did I have that number right? I think it's
something
12.
like that. I'm disappointed because I won't be able to. I'm not getting on a plane.
So it's all East Coast for the most part. Columbus, Ohio is
not
where
that that's a surprise.
Yeah,
a short tour like that. I mean, it was not expected anything else. I'm not bitter about it. It's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I mean, you had said even if I'm not deeply interested in traveling to see this band. The idea of going to Charlottesville again and trying to put something together from an Ants standpoint, that pull, the draw of that is very strong. Ultimately, when you're talking about multiple flights to get there and the cost of that too, because renovating a house is, taking all of that cash that used to probably go into DMV's pocket.
Right.
It's a much easier decision to say, yeah, I would really love to, but it's not even close at this point, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it sucks. It is kind of weird. Like, hey, maybe it's just easier on the band's crew travel wise, just to keep it in an area. I mean, it would be great if can you just hit the 3 parts of the U.S. or maybe call it 4? Do MSG, do Chicago, do Colorado, Denver, and do L.A. or Seattle or something on the West. Pearl Jam, I think, does a great job of that. I might be speeding, but I think they do one weekend in each of those kind of areas, and they just fly everybody, crew-wise and between them all. It would have been nice to do that, but hey, at least we got the East Coast, and you can usually, fly into New York for pretty cheap, and that's why I think MSG is like one of the hot tickets. So it starts in Columbus, Ohio. And then travels 2-night stands, Madison Square Garden 2-night stand. I think that's the hot ticket of the tour right now. Sold out already, as is Mohegan Sun or whatever, the Connecticut show. That's sold out. And then 2 nights in Seaville, and then the special thing like we mentioned with Preservation Hall Band, not sold out yet. But those are, I think, some of the highlights of the tour, the dates that came out.
So you said 12 shows. Are you going to 13 of them?
I'm going to figure out how to do it. I'm planning right now on C-Bus, Columbus, that is, Madison Square Garden shows, and then the DC and 2 Seaville run. That's like a 3-night run there. So we'll do all that, and then hopefully I was looking last night and found cheap flight to Albany. Hopefully I don't convince myself to do that, but we'll see.
So about tickets, you found it interesting when I don't know if was it announced or was there justification made by third parties for when the price was $35 a ticket. Some were saying, oh well, that includes a ticket to the album, right?
So the history here is we didn't have a tour last year, and then this year we had a tour, and people were just outraged at a couple things. Premium tickets being released this summer. That was just pissing me off. No Alpine pissed people off, and the price of the ticket pissed people off.
Yep.
All those things, yeah, you too. That just really aggravated people to the point where there was not hate mail, like disapproving email being sent to the warehouse, to management about this, like how upset they were. And management actually called people about this and talked about why they didn't play Alpine, talked about the ticket prices and why they did premium. And they had reasons, or I'll call excuses, for each of those. The one for the ticket price was, hey, this ticket price. The reason for the increase was every ticket comes with an album. Okay, well, yeah. I mean, wasn't planning on buying 10 albums if I'm going to 10 shows. But okay, great. I get 10 albums. I'm not happy about that, but it is what it is. So the real key thing is what's going to happen then when the next tour, is the price going to go back down because they're not releasing an album? We can all assume because it takes 6 years to do an album. And sure enough, here's the fall tour, and the price has not gone down. The price for
color me shocked.
If it went down,
color me shocked that it hasn't gone down.
Yeah. I mean, $135 still. and now we don't get an album. It's the same price, and we don't get an album. It's pretty steep. They have a couple tiers now, so the closest seats are one tier, the next are another tier, and I think they have like 3 tiers: floor, lowers and uppers and pit. But still, for the most expensive ticket, not the most expensive, the most standard ticket, $135 still. I was disappointed to see that they didn't do the price, and that's all in the frame of mind of they're still doing premium tickets. They're still letting Ticketmaster do premium tickets. So the first 5 rows or more, in some cases 10 rows, of all the prime seats have all gone to Ticketmaster for premium tickets, and they sell from $300 to $500 a ticket. And that's just frustrating. It just gives that feeling of like, selling out. And we'll just cover it here in case people haven't heard the past, but the management's justification for this is, listen, there is a secondhand ticket market for D&B tickets. They're in high demand. It's a supply and demand problem. And the tickets are going for these prices even before the introduction of premium tickets. And the problem is people were making that money. People were buying them at the $100, $135, and then selling them for the $300. And it was the sellers, the scalpers, or the resellers that were making that.
People making that money. It must be us.
Well, that was the take. It was, that there's a demand for it.
That's the thing that bugs me is that, and I'm not a huge scalping, but I am a economies of scale. Supply and demand is a real thing, and it's made what capitalism is, and provided for, bringing half the world out of poverty, essentially. And let's not go. It's not an economics podcast, but I've always put a really skeptical eye at the people talking out of both sides of their mouth that saying, oh, scalping sucks, this and that, unless we do it. And then you've got people who will apologize for that kind of behavior, to say it's not right for people to sell things above face, but when my band does it, whatever. It's, pick a principle and stick with it and apply it evenly.
Yeah. So that's pretty frustrated that we still have the premium ticket crap out there, and that's the tickets
it's been going on for a long time. Live Nation's VIP stuff from 8-9 years ago. This has been going on for a long time, and it's just. Yeah, it's shift your outrage, really. I mean, Ticketmaster and everything. It's crappy.
It's broken. And so what leads this to is there's a new seating arrangement for the fall tour. For the fall tour, the floor is not all GA. There's now there is a smaller section. I'm being told, I think 500 people, maybe a GA pit, a general admission pit at the front, and then they're doing seating behind that. And
I love it.
What?
My anxiety does not like unassigned seats.
Yeah, it's nice to have the assigned seats. I think it's really disappointing.
You like that? I know you like that.
I like the assigned seat, but I like some things about a GA that you can't get with a assigned seat. And this is actually my complaint. I've said multiple times that we can do better with ticking. Is I like with the GA is that you can get a whole bunch of people together. Yeah. You can join a show with a bunch of friends as a group. You can do that on a lawn, at a live show, at an outdoor show. And then the way you do that at an indoor show is you do it on the floor because there's no lawn. And so if you want to watch with 5 friends, 10 friends, 12 fans, whatever you want to get together, or you want to bounce around and see different friends at different parts of the show, like you would do on the lawn, you can do that on the floor. And if the band would do ticketing system where you could actually get tickets together with other people and have maybe a row of seats together, with you did it in groups, they seated people in groups, then that would solve that problem, but they don't. And so the next best thing is doing it on a GA floor. Well, they're not doing that, and that sucks. That you can't sit with your friends. That's one of the best parts of a show, is being able to be with more than one person next to you. This is the one person I'm going to the show with. I want to do it with more people and more friends. Why? It sucks that they're not doing. That sucks that they're not doing that. And my only theory is the reason they're not doing it is because guess what? When you don't do that, you can sell more premium tickets, more of those floor seats for more price. So that's very disappointing.
I think the band is trying to shift into a legacy classic. I think they want to be the Rolling Stones and U2, where they have a long career. Mm-hmm. They're considered they're by their tour. I mean, every time they go out, it's a big deal. They sell out. They're top 3 in the country in tour revenue. I mean, they, like it or not, they might not be the Rolling Stones when it comes time to the history of music, but ultimately when it comes to the touring aspect, they're as good, they're as, accomplished as those bands in that class. So I think they're shifting to that, where we've already seen them, in our opinion, move away from the things that favor hardcore fans, right? Lower ticket prices so you can see multiple shows. I think they're focusing less on that and moving more towards into this upper echelon of, we can now charge that kind of money for tickets. Unfortunately, and I who know, they still allow taping, which is a big freaking deal. I don't want to minimize that, because that is something that's different from a lot of these big headlining bands. They still allow taping, and I really hope that'll continue. But it seems like, Ellen, they're steering towards this, where now this big, huge touring act, and
but the difference is they're not selling out the shows like those acts.
You can buck that by getting your average ticket price up.
Yeah, you can still, they have less people going, but they're charging more money, so that they're still making the same or making more as a total concert income. But it's just, that's too bad that the ticket price is going up, and there's probably people out there that would love to go to 2 MSG shows, but guess what? I can't afford $500, paying New York City rent or whatever. I'd love to go to 2, but I can't. And then there you go. There's some show now. MSG is probably a bad example because those shows sold out. But you look at Albany, for instance. The Albany show, there is like 2 people that have bought tickets to that show. The whole upper ring of seats, like call it the 200 level, 100% open.
For
other than
what?
like for the Albany show, the show they're playing in Albany.
Why?
No one's going. No one's buying the ticket, and maybe casual fans in Albany, that
is DMB Central, upstate New York.
It is DMB. Yeah, it's DMB Central, I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe the casual fan was looking for something to do in the winter, and is looking at the ticket price and looking, I got to drop $300 to go to DMB for an indoor show. That's rough. So I don't know. Albany is not selling. That venue is empty.
Wow, that stuns me. I mean, that's a half hour down the road from Saratoga.
Yeah.
That Albany is upstate New York, outside of the Charlottesville area, and I would argue that I don't live in Virginia, right? I don't know what the line is on Dave Matthews Band, but my family all still lives back there. I know, like, going to a Dave show is, I've never seen anywhere else in the country where it's as fervent as it is in upstate New York. So that stuns me.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason is there. It's very interesting, but you can get plenty of tickets for that. I mean, overall, I think the ticketing process is broken. I don't think anybody else there thinks it's not broken. Here's, though, I would say the one thing about this fall tour that is different than the other ones from ticketing perspective is warehouse members did not get declined. And I'm not saying there's no declines, but nearly everybody got tickets to the warehouse. So I am thinking, and I'm pretty confident about this, is that the warehouse changed some things from the fall tour and took up a lot of the tickets for this fall tour. They had the majority of the tickets for these concerts, and any fan that put something in, you got a ticket. Now, it was really frustrating because this year, for this tour, they didn't let you pick the seat section you wanted. So you get stuck with uppers is essentially what I'm saying. You said, hey, I just want to get like a floor or a lower bowl. If I can't get that, I don't want to go, or I'll find tickets somewhere else. You didn't have that choice. If you got stuck with uppers, which is really frustrating. That's like worse than Ticketmaster. At least when you do Ticketmaster, if you can get the thing to work, you at least can say, oh, these tickets came up and they're freaking behind the stage or side stage.
Were there a ton of declines this summer tour from Warehouse?
Not a ton, but there were.
You almost wonder if that's a perception thing. Is that Warehouse wanted to avoid being on the hook for declinations again?
Yeah, I think so too. I think they said, "Hey, let's do this one. Let's make it for the fan club ticketing wise. Let's make sure any fan that wants a ticket through the fan club, let's try to do. And let's maximize that." And
I mean, clearly the Warehouse is not sitting there like Dr. Evil trying to rip you off. I mean, they're in a really tough position. And we've gone over this before. I mean, they haven't done everything perfectly. They're not infallible, but they genuinely try to do what's right. And they, as you can see, they are listening. And it's unfortunate that sometimes that reaction causes them. Now you got this restriction. They're trying to do a good thing, right?
Yeah,
it's
trying to do a good thing.
Take your pick. Nothing's perfect.
Right. Yeah. So most of the tickets, I think that's awesome that most of the tickets went to the warehouse. I think the only ones that people got declines on, some people are commenting in the comments, is MSG. That was the hot ticket to request. If there was one that people got declined, it was that. But still, I think a lot that the success rate on MSG was much higher than any other popular show that we've ever seen.
Probably much higher than like a SPAC Night 2 does in a normal
100%.
case. Yeah.
100%. So they get an awesome job from the warehouse for doing that. The other thing that warehouse is doing that's really cool is they're offering pit upgrade. They're doing pit upgrades for people. So they're going to be taking lots of tickets and giving people the option to upgrade a pit. You had to go into the warehouse and pick which one you wanted to put in the hat for that. You got to pick one show that you wanted to get put in the hat for a pit upgrade. But that's pretty cool. They're doing that. And they're doing this other thing called golden ticket, where again, random people are being selected and you get upgraded to the premium package, the premium ticket. So you not only get a good seat with the premium ticket, or could get pit with premium, but you also get the two posters, usually like another gift, like a blanket or a chick a pig or something. But at random, they're picking people for the golden ticket. They get upgraded to premium. So it would be great to know some kind of stats about how many premiums, how many golden tickets they're doing, or how many pit upgrades they're doing. I hope they're not just like one for each show. I think there's more than that, but it would be nice to see how many it is. I think that's awesome that they're doing that. But there's some things at the warehouse that I didn't like, which again was they didn't let you pick the tier of ticket you wanted. You had to get stuck, any ticket you get stuck with, and you don't even get to see what ticket you're going to get. So
Michael Scott has infiltrated the band's management machine if he's handing out golden tickets.
He's in there.
Limit one per customer. Remember.
The other thing that's disappointing with the warehouse is does not appear that they'd used seniority, which is really, really disappointing. I know somebody with a day one, day two account, early account, got approved for both tickets for Madison Square Garden. So you figure, okay, one of the nights will be priority and you'd get good seats. Not the case. Both nights, 1 and 2, upper deck. So clearly no seniority was taken to get better seats.
Do you think seniority was used to get the seats, period?
No, they say that that's random. They've been pretty clear that seniority does not come in.
Chance has always been random, and then usually seat placement is seniority, typically.
That's what they say. Yeah, it seems like there might be better chances of getting premium tickets if you're.
Yay! Pay more.
Hey, some of those premium. You go in for a raffle for the premium tickets. There's more demand for those premium packages than there is supply. So, and again, that goes to the management's point that people want to pay that much. But maybe seniority helps you with that. It's hard to say. But I'm disappointed in the no seniority thing, disappointed in the way that they did the tickets. They are doing cool things with the pit upgrades and the golden tickets, and I'm glad that not a lot of people got declines other than maybe some MSG. I think there's still a scalping problem, and after if you went to try to buy on, I tried to do the public sale. I tried to do Ticketmaster, and it just spun. I didn't even get the thing that come up and order tickets. Nobody had any luck. The public ticket sale was a mess. Now, I think that's part because the warehouse had all the tickets, but it was a mess. And then scalpers had for MSG, they had 2,000 tickets up the first day for sale for MSG, which is about roughly 10% of the value.
How many of those do you think are? So StubHub on day one. Could I have gone in as Matt and gotten a ticket and flipped it on StubHub day one?
Yes, you could if you could have got in.
So how many of those 2,000 do you think are people that grab? Probably a lot, right?
Zero. Nobody could get the Ticketmaster to work. It was just a spinning ticket. No tickets were coming up on Ticketmaster. People waited an hour, and an hour and a half, and it was just a spinning thing. So they're all scalpers, and I'm just positive of it, just because of the way that they're posted on there. They're posted on both Ticketmaster's verified resell, and they're posted on StubHub, the same ticket. So it's somebody, it's scalpers with programs, software that's posting all this stuff. So 10% of the value is going to scalper. 10% of the capacity of the stadium is going to scalpers without even a chance for a non-warehouse member to get it. If you're a non-warehouse member, it is you're going to be paying more than face, because it's impossible to get a face ticket. So that is just broken. That sucks. Other bands are doing things better there with, verified fans and logins and lotteries and stuff like that. Just even for not a fan based ticket, just for a standard person. And in this case, they're just all going to scalpers. So disappointed about how the ticketing has worked for this fall tour.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yep.
So, Seville, is anything going down this year? I know it's, if anything, it's going to be pretty limited or not so official, and not official, but nothing too organized. I'm guessing, right?
Well, more to be said, still to be determined on Seville. Obviously, sad news that Matt not able to make it, so that puts a little bit of dent in it. The bigger complicating factor is the band is playing the night before in DC, like a couple hours away. Normally, we do a night zero show, a night zero party. People get into town. You got the night available. You want to do something. It works a lot better than after parties, because an after party kicks off at, like, the band wraps up at 11, you say, or even later maybe. You're getting to the after party maybe 11:30 or midnight. You got maybe 2 hours if you really want to stay up till 2 in the morning. It's not for everybody. It's hard to do a gathering after the show just because people are pooped and hungry or whatever you got going on. So
it's really, that bore itself out in 2016 when we did the tour kickoff and DMB Hub launch party at Mauna Loco in Charlottesville. You don't realize that it was really difficult. I mean, it was a great party, but there were still patrons there from the restaurant. They didn't close it down and draw that line, and so there was like a blend between when the party actually started and when, and it's very hard to organize that. Like you said, you have to have availability, and if you're squeezed by shows the night before and then after, the timing of that, exactly right. It's so tough.
Yeah, it's tough. So we don't have night zero. We don't have night zero because of DC, and I might very likely be in DC, so that really complicates trying to do a party if I'm going to be at the DC show. So I don't know. Open to ideas. If someone's got some ideas, I know there's a couple people from the Charlottesville area that have been emailing and talking with me, and thank you guys for suggestions. We'll see if we might be able to do something about a tailgate, or maybe do something about a day party, a meetup, or maybe still do an after party for the limited few that are interested. We're talking about it. Hopefully, we'll have some more info. We might be able to be announcing another special event that we'll be doing in Charlottesville. Still need to work through some of those details, so stay tuned. There might be one other thing. So hopefully we'll know more. But unfortunately, it's complicated this time because of all of those factors. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to share that.
So some miscellaneous stuff before we wrap up, because we're really pushing it here. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations.
Yes, we've been waiting for this day, because this was the first year, I think, that Dave Matthews Band could qualify for nomination into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think it's 20 years after your first album, LP release. And so this I think I have that right, but it's
longer than that. It's got to be bigger than that, because that would have been 2014. Or earlier if your count Remember Two Things.
Right, yeah. I'm forgetting what it is. Maybe I have it wrong then.
Maybe it's 25. Clearly. It could be 25 with Remember Two Things.
Right. So anyway, we had figured this all out. I just forgot it, but this was the first year. And so just this past week, they announced the nominations of the short list of people that potentially could be nominated. And Dave Matthews Band did not even make the short list.
What is the criteria for this?
Yeah, I'll look it up real quick. See.
I don't want to Google.
You don't want to Google?
Criteria. Let's see. Influence and significance of the artist's contribution. Influence. And let's see. That's interesting.
That's how they choose the person. But as far as base requirements, you have to.
Yep. Thank you, Brett. Okay. Criteria include the influence and significance of the artist's contributions to the development and perpetuation of rock and roll.
That's how you pick the person to go in. But to be even qualified, base qualification, and here it is an individual artist or band must have released its first commercial recording at least 25 years prior to the year of nomination.
No, and we got that. But
okay, I thought you were still asking that.
No. And then to the point of, okay, so what are you judged upon? And that is one very vague, and that's fine. It should be right.
Yeah. But here there's just as far as getting on the short list.
Yeah.
And those things, there's 15 people that are on the short list now. Six of the 15 are first-time nominees, first time that they could be on there.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if they're first time they could be on there, but the first time they are. So these are people that beat out Dave Matthews Band, Def Leppard, Devo, John Prine, Roxy Music, Stevie Nicks, and Todd Rundgren. I don't even know who that is. Who's Todd Rundgren?
Todd Rundgren. I've seen him like 87 times. I actually have. I think he's got a song called Stone Cold, and I actually run stonecolder.org.
I forgot you're a big Todd Rundgren. I forgot you're a big fan of that.
Yeah.
I mean, admit this is not fun to admit, but I mean, I don't know two of these people.
Do you think that they are forever, or at least currently, pigeonholed into jam band session, and they don't consider that rock and roll? And if that's true, part B of that is you see the shift in their albums, in their live performances, in their TV appearances to try to become more mainstream.
No.
Okay.
I think become more mainstream. I think the band wants to do, just in general. I think they would love to have been a Super Bowl halftime show, which is just they've lost their peak of that, unfortunately, at least as a headliner. So let me tell you this: here's people that are on the short list. Do you think these people embody rock and roll more than DMB?
Okay, great question.
Janet Jackson.
Yes.
Wow. LL Cool J.
No.
I mean, LL Cool J is.
I mean, ladies love him, but
ladies love him.
But no.
And I think he's definitely influential. I don't know about in the rock and roll space influential.
No, right.
So,
I mean, so that to that point, you cannot shade against jam bands, or I think Dave Matthews Band is very much on the edge of the jam band genre. I mean, they're not noodlers at all.
They used to be. But everyone thinks of that. The first thing you think of as you hear DMB is like, somebody just said this to me last night or 2 nights ago. Oh, yeah, well, DMB's a jam band. So, I'm like,
they're not anymore.
They're not a jam band anymore.
They're not.
So.
And in my opinion, I don't think they ever were a true jam band, because I don't think I would have gotten into them enough. I need more structure to a song. I went, again, upstate New York, huge Fish fan area. A lot of my friends in college were big Fish fans, and so I tried, and I was surrounded by it, and I just could not latch on, because the style of jam band to me doesn't lend itself to. I just can't hook onto it. It's too ethereal, right? And that's fine. It's just for me. So I never saw Dave Matthews Band as a true jam band either.
And that's what attracted to you, yeah. So DMB has actually been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before. I don't know if you knew this. DMB
like visiting.
Well, Dave introduced somebody. Gosh, I can't remember. Somebody will remember. It's like Dave introduced somebody into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was like the person that presented them with the induction.
Yeah.
But DMB has had a presence inside them as a representation of them inside the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was a display with Dave Matthews Band. If I remember correctly, it was a bunch of I Did It stuff, ironically. Like they had like the suit that Dave wore for I Did It and some of the other props from the music video. So to say like they don't belong in there, they've actually already been in there in just in a limited capacity, not inducted.
Interesting.
I have to hope that they're eventually going to get in there.
How often do they do it? Every year?
Every year. Yep. Every year.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they won't eventually make it in.
And maybe it's going to take a while to the point where they consider them more influential. I don't know, but the touring that this band has done will beat anybody in resume, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, when you lift up bands like Rolling Stones and U2 in terms of their touring acumen, in terms of those credentials, you're absolutely including Dave Matthews Band in that list.
Right.
Peers.
That is record breaking. And then the albums, the number one, the most consecutive number one albums for a group.
What more do you want them to accomplish? What more would they need to accomplish?
Yeah, it seems kind of hard. Like, shouldn't that person be in the Hall of Fame? So, little disappointing. I was kind of really hopeful that they'd happen in the first year, and we'd get appearances and get to check out what would make it.
Can we all agree that these institutions that are set up by self-backslapping people are all a bunch of strokers? I mean, they snubbed Leroy. The Grammys snubbed Leroy. Like they, why people put so much emphasis on a bunch of highbrow people who live by different rules, live on a different planet almost. And yes, everybody, I'm going to get together and watch the Emmys tonight. Why? So you can watch a bunch of a-holes congratulate other a-holes. And so,
it sucks. It's
take
nice
the
to
snub,
get it,
but take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how the band would probably look at it, as like they don't actually consider that like disappointing at all because they know of all the stuff that happens behind there. So yeah, so we'll have to see till next year. Maybe they make the list then.
I think it's a very subjective process, because if you look at it from any objective measure, Dave Matthews Band is an all-time great, and we were along for the ride, everyone. So
Yeah,
enjoy.
good enough. Good enough.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. One little note here. This is the 20th anniversary of Before These Crowded Streets this year, and we're looking at your calendars. We're quickly running out of days in this year. In 2014, we got the Under the Table release and It's a Mistake and the re-release of one of the discs, and we got Crash in 2016 on vinyl. We are not seeing anything, and little whispers are starting to come out that it might not happen this year, or it's starting to
Well,
slip.
I think we speculate just because it's
Well,
you know,
yeah.
we talked about BTCS vinyl in January or February and said, yikes, how are you going to do a vinyl if we got an album coming out? So it seems
It's already been a crowded year. First year back.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm hopeful that we'll still see it, but at this point that we haven't heard anything, I mean, it's like I guess no. I don't know. It just seems like we've run out of time. I can't believe where 2018 went.
What I have noticed, though, too, and maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the 20th anniversary was ever really emphasized when reissuing the vinyls. Is that right? Like, yes.
How much by emphasized?
Like, yes, it was on the 20th anniversary of the release, but it wasn't like 20th anniversary re-release. I don't think it was packaged and announced as it was a vinyl reissue, but it wasn't this is the 20th anniversary of this album.
I think in the write-ups it said.
Yes, it was mentioned, but I don't think it was ever really a headlining like stamp. So if it comes out in the 21st year, you can still say 20th anniversary if you want to. You could say, over 20 years ago.
Well, the other thing is there is a vinyl of BTCS right now. It's not produced anymore. It's out there and it commands a premium, but the other albums there was no vinyl. So you could say like, well, we already got a vinyl of BTCS. So you figure I got to do something a little bit more special if you're, with a BTCS album.
I would like to actually have a BTCS that I could listen to, though. I will not break. I mean, mine's used, but I won't listen to it.
Yeah, I have a sealed one.
Really?
I have a sealed one, but I don't have a vinyl player. Thankfully, some of my good friends in Jensen let me listen to theirs on their player with some headphones. Is absolutely amazing thing to do. So sounds so good. There's a hot thread on this topic on the forums. So if you want to join the conversation, jump into the forums. There's a lot of discussion on what would you like to see included. If they are going to release a BTCS vinyl, what would you like to see included with it? What would be your hopes or wishes or dreams? Jump in there. Who knows? Maybe someone's reading that and will maybe influence what we get.
I think a lot of people are dying for the Mac Head because that was what showed up on that infamous little drawing that I think was included in the liner notes of the album or a post, a picture or something. They called Dreaming Tree Stefan 7. I think Don't Drink was Drop D or something, and was Last Stop called Arabian or Black and White on that list and not Last Stop?
I knew the other ones you just talked about. I don't remember the last.
I know
stop.
that at various times that song Last Stop was considered both Black and White and Arabian, right? And thank you, Stephen. Rapunzel was Funkin' 5. And not that the notes indicated this, but that was actually from a Soundcheck jam in like 94, 95. That's out there somewhere too. I think it's up for download on our torrent section, which is really cool that they went back. At the time, it was only 3 years ago. So imagine that the band, in the same way, if the band was to put an album out right now, that would be them like digging through their sound checks from 2015 to put together a song. I mean, it's such just like lore of history when we think about Rapunzel's origins. But really, all they did was go back a tape 3 years and pull it out. But now, when you hear it like that, it sounds like wow, they were digging through their old stuff and It would be just like if they dug out a sound check from 2015 now.
Yeah, it was an early draft of the album tracks, what it was going to be, and with working names. And yeah, had Stay, Funkin' Five, you just mentioned as Rapunzel, Stefan's Seven, which was Dreaming Tree, and that's related to the time signature
right.
Of Dreaming Tree. And Stefan is awesome on that song, obviously. So, Spoon, Chim Chimney.
That's right. That's Stone.
The Stone was Chim Chimney. Don't Burn the Pig. Crush, Drop D, which you just mentioned was Don't Drink the Water. The infamous Machead,
which was described as Paul McCartney and Radiohead.
It's a song that's a mix of those two, and then there's the sound that we had, which only got people more excited. Like, we want to hear that.
Those are two amazing artists. So let's hear it.
That seems like it'd be amazing. How is it not on the album? Egyptian, which was Last Stop, and then Halloween. So that was the working track list and working names. And the mystery has always been around Machead. What happened to it? Where did it go? Why didn't it make the album? And Lily White, the producer of BTCS, many years ago, used to drop onto Twitter and stoke people's interest about it or answer questions about it. We've done past podcasts about it, about Machead. We'll just stop there on Machead, I guess.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything you want to add, Joe, before we put a bow on this? We're gonna get the last episode of the podcast up in the podcast apps here. We're gonna fix the YouTube. Apparently, that clip of busted stuff from Kylie Walker, the 40 seconds we played of it.
Walker? That's the guy's name?
Yeah,
that was Ryan or something.
Riley Walker. I don't know.
Okay.
The 40 seconds that we played tripped up YouTube. They banned the whole video from worldwide. So, and it said, do you want us to go ahead and fix this? I go, yeah, fix it. Mute the stinking thing. Mute the 40 seconds that we played, and it's failed multiple times. So who knows? I mean, Google's always outstanding at everything.
Hour and a half podcast, and like there's 30 seconds of
they ban the whole thing.
They ban the whole thing.
You know, they're smart enough to be able to detect that 40 seconds, and they say, do you want to mute it? And I say yes, and it fails. It says, because we're Google, and good luck trying to get support at it. Because we're Google, and
it's all machines.
There are no humans that work here.
Yeah. I did listen to that song, by the way, after the podcast. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, my first take was it's just D&B lyrics to some new music, but I guess the chorus did use the traditional busted stuff kind of sound.
Yep.
That from a music standpoint, that was, from my listen, the only really connection to D&B.
I am very interested to hear the rest of the interpretations.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to judge it by just one song, though. You normally pick your favorite one to stir interest, to promo it. So I don't know what that means about the other ones, but I think I'm interested to hear more. And it's coming out in like a month or something. So
November 16th, so a little over a month. Yeah, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. That's cool that someone's doing that. That's all I wanted to say. I think thanks for talking with me, Matt. This was good stuff to catch up on. A lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sorry to wake you up before noon on a Sunday, Joe. I mean, I really do appreciate you dragging yourself out of bed and joining me.
I can go spend my 1 hour of prep time now.
There you go. Now it's anybody who's not watching, you do need to subscribe to us on YouTube, because Joe just coiffed his hair. He just coiffed his hair, and if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, you won't see this. And you know what? I have the actual broadcast up here, so it's like 10 seconds delayed. I just saw it again, so I got it twice.
Oh,
it's so great! It's so great. It's free, man. Just subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can also hit notifications, and you can be notified when we do go live. In case you're interested in watching us broadcast these live. Otherwise, it'll be up on the Apple Podcast app, Overcast. Take your pick. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, give us a review on iTunes for our podcast as well. We'd love that. And Joe's going to get on our Tour Central and update and putting all those fall tour shows in, right?
I knew you were going to say if we should count how many times you said that this podcast.
I want to make sure it's on the record.
Oh, it's definitely on the record. I think you got it in like a good 7 times. So, yes, we will get those in.
Awesome. Everybody, thanks for listening. Have a great Sunday. Go Jets. Take care, everyone.
See you.